Hello, lovely listener. Welcome back to another episode of Momentum on the Mic on YouTube. I know. It's very official. So if you're listening to this not on YouTube but on the actual Spotify podcast, I just checked if all the cameras were on. I'm just so worried. Okay, anyway, let's be professional.
Yes.
Hello, Claire.
Hi, Anna.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Thank you for coming onto the pod today, as we are going to talk a little bit about your aerial hoop journey. And we're going to go really get down into the nitty gritty. I want to know, when you started, how you started, where you started, all of that. But before we get going, I just wanted to say thank you for doing this with me, because I know it's quite different, isn't it, being filmed?
Yeah. I have to look nice.
Yeah, it's quite different, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a new sort of pressure, I find.
Yeah.
Because obviously you have been on the podcast with me before, and we were at Momentum HQ in Gloucester, just vegged out on the sofa.
Yes. Yeah.
So now we've got cameras on us and lights. It's quite different, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
But no, thank you for doing that with me. And I recorded an episode with Rachel earlier. I just dropped that bombshell on her, and I'm going to drop it on you too. Is that obviously the podcast started around a year ago.
Right.
So us doing these video episodes is how the podcast's going to end. So it's like a year-long progression curve, and then we end on a high of like doing this video episode. So that's why I also wanted you to be here, because you were one of the very first guests.
Oh, thank you.
So then I figured if you're then also like in the fireworks at the end.
Wow. Exciting.
It works really nicely.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. But let's get talking about you and your aerial hoop journey. Can you talk to us about when you started and kind of how you started? I know this is a weird question, because people think, oh yeah, I just came to a class, I started in a class. But actually, how long were you debating with yourself before starting? What was going on in your life at the time? And what was the starting experience like? Sorry, there's loads of questions wrapped up in one.
Okay. I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
Tell me if I miss anything out. Okay, I started in April or May 23, I think. So I think it's over 18 months.
Okay. Was it not April or May 2022? Or was it 23?
I can't even remember.
See, I think it was 22.
Okay.
I think it was 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and yes, oh my goodness. It just feels like I've been doing it forever. In a joyful way. In a joyful way. It's just become such a part of my life. So I started at a time, what time in women's lives do we not feel very uncomfortable about the way our bodies look and feel? And I had, for years and years and years, tried and failed to get into a good sort of exercise routine. I tried dancing, which is fun, but I used to do partner dancing, so salsa and tango and Lindy Hop, but it was reliant on your lead.
Oh, so you actually can't rock up by yourself?
You can rock up by yourself, but within the dance. And I don't know how it happened, but aerial hoop videos started turning up on my feed.
And interesting. So was this Momentum hoop videos or random?
I don't remember.
The algorithm just fed it to you.
I know, exactly. But it did remind me that I'd met Helen at Tango.
Okay.
Years and years ago. And I remembered her Instagram and or Facebook, I can't remember at the time, when she started doing hoop, because she started putting things on. So I remembered that she'd done it, and I thought, oh, well, Helen's nice. And she's a normal person, and she does hoop, so that's cool. And then, so I looked to see what was available locally, and obviously found Momentum, and then saw that Helen was a teacher. And I was like, oh my goodness, that means I know someone. I am an impulsive person, so if I decide I'm going to do something, I don't spend a long time going, If I'm excited about something, I'll just go straight in and book the first class I can find.
Okay.
But I was absolutely petrified. I was so frightened when I turned up. And I remember sending a message to my mum and my husband saying, "Why am I here?"
Was this literally outside the
Literally
studio
outside
door?
the studio, absolutely terrified. Just had a couple of smiles from other people waiting, but there wasn't any sort of chatter or anything at that point. I always turn up early to stuff, so that was why there wasn't many people there. And then more people started coming, and they looked confident, like they knew what to do. Read the instructions about taking my shoes off.
Oh yeah, the little board outside the studio.
Am I going to go in the right place? Is my shoes safe? Or you just kind of. I was really frightened. I just had no idea what to expect. And then Helen opened the door and she said, "Oh, Claire, I thought it was you." So she'd seen my name come up on the thing. So that was really nice. That was really reassuring. And Helen was, as all the teachers are, absolutely amazing, patient, lovely, put the hoop super low, and absolutely loved it. And came out, just was like, "Oh my God, this was amazing." Absolutely loved it. And then the next day, my arms did not absolutely love it.
I was just going to ask you, what were the 48 hours afterwards like?
More like 7 full days. Awful DOMs, changing gear. Oh my God. I was so uncomfortable. And then I came back the next week and I felt like my DOMs had gone. And then as soon as I did just one tiny pull on the hoop, I didn't even put any weight through it really. And my bicep just went, no, we're not doing that. So Helen had the hoop very low again for me so that I could just sit in it all the time. But that quickly shifted, and so did I answer all of your questions?
When did you find that the soreness kind of ebbed off?
Oh, really quite quickly in the end. I mean, that first, so bear in mind, I didn't do a lot of exercise really at all, and certainly nothing sort of strength based really, maybe some little baby weights with a YouTube video or something. And one of the things I've definitely learned from hoop is that because if you lift a weight, you're just kind of doing this, or you might change it by doing this, just slightly change the thing.
One direction.
Exactly. Whereas with the hoop, you're using those muscles, and I'm a nurse and I teach anatomy and physiology, so I have quite an understanding of the muscles. But the fact that you're putting weight through them at so many different angles, and as they're moving in different ways, it's a really functional weight training and strength training, which is obviously really, really good for you. But also, even if you are strong, it makes bits of your muscles hurt that don't normally hurt because they're not used to it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How many times has it happened where you've had a class, good class, you're like, great.
Yeah.
On the way home, you're like, woo. And then the next morning, something hurts somewhere.
You're like, oh, what's that? Huh? What's that tiny muscle I use that I haven't used before?
You're like, where's my right calf sore?
Yeah. But honestly, ibuprofen, paracetamol, and warm baths, and it's fine. And the biggest thing I would say to anybody starting out, and I do say it to all beginners, after their first class, move as early as you can in the morning. Because the problem is you lie in bed, your muscles have all stiffened up, and then you've just got to move them and warm them up. And
get going.
Yeah, exactly.
So you hinted at it earlier on, where you said you were petrified when you first attended your initial class. You were probably having quite a lot of doubts as you were waiting outside the studio doors, texting.
Yeah.
Your husband and your mum, was it?
Yeah.
What was it in that first class that made you be like, oh, this is my thing. I'm gonna do this, not just today for this one session. This is my thing. What was it in that first session?
I honestly, and I've thought about it a lot, what is it that's so special about it? And I think there's so much to it, particularly at Momentum, because as well as the work you're doing in the hoop, there's the community, there's the culture that you've created with Momentum, and the instructors, the way they keep the class going the way you use TAs to kind of build that energy in the room. And I think just that sense of empowerment, you know, for me to, because I did start posting my stuff on social media really early on, and was really shocked that so many random people who I hadn't spoken to for years and years and years and been on Facebook with, you know, friends with, you know, 15 years ago, were kind of going, oh my goodness, Claire, that looks amazing. I was like, really? Because I think I just look a bit like a lump who's mucking about at home. But I started to
We're always,
I know.
any opportunity to shit on yourself.
Exactly.
Like, I'm doing it. I'm here.
Exactly.
Let me do it. I'll
Exactly.
take this role. I'll take it.
But I did start to get better at seeing myself through other people's eyes. And, you know, I'm quite a confident person. Not until the last couple of years body confident really at all. But much more kind of, but confident in myself. So that made it so that I could go into the class. Once I was there, I knew there was nothing that I needed to worry about. But it is, it's that bit while you're waiting, you just don't know what to expect. That's the bit that's scary.
Because it is so unfamiliar, isn't it? Especially in terms of, exercise environment. Most of us, before we find pole or aerial arts, have dabbled in other stuff. Gym, some group fitness, yoga, perhaps tried running, you know. And I love all of those things, and I think whatever exercise somebody finds that makes them feel great and works with what they've got going on in life, and they can do it consistently, love it, brilliant. But if you then sort of pitch a pole or aerial class alongside that, is so unfamiliar, isn't it? You just do not know.
And what you see in your head is very slim, very strong, long-term circus artists. And it's very easy to kind of go, well, why do I have, you know, in what way would I fit into that space? And which is why I do keep posting stuff. I know there's about, I think it's 3 or 4 people who I have known in my life a long time ago and have just had on social media for years, not really had spoken to properly, who have taken up pole or aerial because they've seen my stuff. And I love that. I absolutely love it. And I know that I get a lot from seeing other normal looking people. And it's really hard to use that word, but it is that we all feel that we don't look right. But seeing people who look a bit more like you, a bit more like your age, a bit more like your size, shape, just that representation, I think, is really important. So that's why I keep posting stuff, because that's what made me realise that it's doable.
Because, I mean, the image of the regular person, in air quotes, that we see on social media, in the media, films, etc., they are very narrow definition of the beauty ideal. Whereas actually the reality doesn't look like that.
No.
Real people don't look like that. And I find that we as users of social media almost have a responsibility to show us and our lives in order to show what real life is like.
I think so.
And of course it's scary to put yourself out there and to post about, you know, the new move that you've achieved, and, you know, you might not like your hair in that pose, or, you know, have some issue with it, but it's real, and somebody else will look at it and think, they look like me, they can do it, maybe I can do it. Whereas before they were only seeing that very narrow.
Exactly, And I think particularly for women around my age, who our teens were in the 90s, when it was all about bikini bodies and, you know, Heat magazine with a circle of shame and all that sort of horrific crap.
How did they get away with it at the time?
I do not know. I do not know how we survived it.
We women. No, like, I bought these magazines.
Yeah, exactly.
Reading them.
I know. Look at that cellulite. But you know, I just want to reclaim women's bodies. Really, they're not objects to be looked at. They can be strong and powerful, and even when they can't, when they're poorly, they're still functioning. You know, as someone who teaches, again, anatomy and physiology, I'm blown away every time I teach it, seeing students kind of going, oh, is that why that does that and that does that? And I'm like, yes, it's so incredible how everything works. And even when it's not working, there's still an awful lot that is. And yet we worry about what the outside bit looks like. And that's what we spend all our energy and time and sadness on, which I feel really angry about. And I do it myself, you know.
We're not immune.
No,
to
absolutely not.
the messages in the ether.
No, exactly.
We're not immune to them. Just a little thing that you just made me think about with regards to, you know, 90s noughts, do they call them, like the 2000s?
The noughties.
Yeah, the noughties. I remember Bridget Jones.
Yes.
Obviously, when the first one came out, I can't remember how old I was, in my teens, and watching it. And obviously, Bridget Jones was pitched to us as a loser, wasn't she? And I remember in one section, like she writes in her diary how much she weighs, and at the time, as a teenager, I was already heavier than she was then. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And there was like, you may have been a bit young to see all of that, but there's massive press about how much weight Renee Zellweger get put on deliberately to play that role, and it was all like, oh, isn't she self-sacrificing? You know, and then like, she's hardly put anything on. She's just a normal size.
She's a normal regular size, slim, and if you watch it now, fucking hell, right? She's got a flat in central London. She's got a great job.
Yes,
she's got a group of best friends.
Yeah.
She's got hobbies.
And she's really funny.
Yeah, she's funny. Good relationship with her parents.
Yeah, but all we think about is how much she weighs.
Yeah. But she's got a dream life.
I know.
Anyway, moving on. With regards to your hoop journey, so you've been training for a year and a half or 2.5
something
years,
like that. Yeah, a long time now.
How have you found it in terms of how engaging the exercises? Have you ever been bored? Have you ever had moments where you were like, oh my God, this slog?
No, I've never been bored. I have certainly had done classes where I've gone, this is not a high success level class.
So 2 out of 10.
Yeah. But, you know, I've been a TA for quite a long time, so I've got quite a good relationship with the instructors as well. So I'm just kind of like, oh, Claire, just suck it up and try and stuff. You know, don't give up. Just because it's hard, don't try it. So I'll try stuff even if I kind of know I'm not going to get it. Or I think I know I'm not going to get it. Sometimes I surprise myself. So that's always cool. And yeah, I don't... what's the hard slog sometimes is getting to the studio. That's the same as anything though. So if I'm not feeling in a great place, and the last thing I want to do is go out anywhere.
Especially when it's dark and cold and you've had a shit day at work.
Yeah. But I can hand on heart say I've never come out and gone, I wish I hadn't gone to that. I've just come out of a couple and felt a bit rubbish about myself because I hadn't done very well, or because maybe I wasn't in such a great space, so that I wasn't really gelling with the other people in the room and the energy in the room. But 95% of the time I come out and go, I'm so glad I did that. I feel much better.
And is this what then ultimately helps you go to class when you're not feeling like that?
Yeah, I think so. And you asked, I mean, it was hard to say after the first class what made me want to keep going, but I think longer term I can clearly see there's something about achieving stuff, there's something about challenging yourself that is really rewarding. Obviously the space, the people in the space is really lovely, and the energy in the space is really nice and uplifting. I think that when you are doing a move in the hoop, because once you're upside down or just even in the air, you cannot think about anything else because you have paying so much attention to what's going on. So the mental work is very good for you. Good for me, I find it good for me. You're so in your body, you're really in the moment. There's just so much to it. There's so much that makes it worth keeping on going and making yourself go. Yeah, making yourself go is always worth it for me.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because you said the whole thing about being in your body and you can't really think about anything else. I think mindfulness has, at this particular moment in time where we are at right now, almost been branded as like something that's only accessible if you are a certain type of person, or you have to meditate for it, and you're not allowed to drink coffee, and you have to
you have to do the whole package or
exactly
nothing.
And you have to go to these retreats, and you have to read these books, and then you also have to do these breathing exercises. And by the way, I love all of it. I'm here for it. Everybody should do whatever makes them feel good and whatever makes them actually enjoy being in the moment, makes it possible for them. But I also feel, because of the conversation around mindfulness, a lot of people think that a lot of stuff isn't mindful when in actual fact it is. Walking can be a meditation, can be mindful. Any type of sport, eating a piece of chocolate in the mornings, rather than gulping down your coffee, if you just take a moment, oh my God, let that.
It's anything where you're just doing one thing and your mind and your body are in alignment with that one thing. It's just,
And I think that pole and aerial allows that sometimes, because you just have to be like, okay, right, what is my left leg?
That's usually it. When the instructor says, move your left leg forward, you're like, well, first thing, what's my left leg? And secondly, what do you mean by forward? Like in front of my body, behind it, in front of the hoop, I don't know where. And then you're upside down and the instructor's going, no, put your foot there, no.
You're like, what?
It's just
so that can be really, because that is being in the moment.
Definitely,
And also, some obviously people who practice pole and aerial arts knows that there is often a certain level of discomfort or pain, but that in itself also can be mindful, can't it? Because you're like, okay, I know that the hoop's going to press against my collarbone in this move. That's just how it is. I'm just going to breathe through it.
Definitely. And actually, another amazing thing about body, that your body adapts to pain. I love that. When I was reading about how that happens, and I was like, oh my God. So your nervous system thinks if you've got pain that something's going to injure you, so it says stop doing it. That's the pain. That's the message. And then when it doesn't injure you, it goes, oh, maybe I don't need to send that message so strongly. And then literally you don't need that message, and that's just like amazing. But the worst, it's also the worst, because then you know that if something hurts a lot, you have to do it more.
You're like, I don't want to do it again,
but it works.
But I have to.
It works.
And so actually it allows you to learn a lot about your body and about your perception of yourself and your pain, and which is really interesting, isn't it? Because I find as an adult we don't really learn that much about ourselves anymore.
No.
So if you then actually go out and you start a new hobby, it can open up a whole new...
Definitely, a lot more self-awareness. I thought I was pretty self-aware anyway, particularly, I'd done lots of menstrual cycle work and stuff, but noticing things like which times in the cycle I'm stronger and which times I'm more flexible, which times it's harder to get to the studio and I'm just going there just to be there. And the same with, morning classes and evening classes. I'm much stronger in the morning, but I'm way less flexible. Whereas in the evening classes, I'm quite strong, but I'm much... and do more bendy stuff.
Same. In the morning, can't. I'm just so stiff, and also it feels like the motor hasn't had time to warm up.
But I'm more hench because I'm not tired yet.
The day has worn you down.
Exactly. But just noticing those rhythms and how your body adapts to those changes in the external and internal environment. I know so much more about how my body works and what my body needs.
And I was talking to, we were doing a little podcast episode with, it was Helen, Lottie, Shay, Kat and I.
Yes, I've got that to listen to.
Yeah. We had a few mic issues, so we have to do it again. But anyway, we were talking about kind of how to pull yourself out of that place when you're like, fuck, I can't do it, everything's shit and shit. Which everybody has at some point.
definitely.
You know, there will be some moves that really challenge you, or you know, and we all go through plateaus in our learning curve. And we were talking about just having a little bit of awareness when you're having a bit of a crap session about what's actually going on in your wider life. Because it's so easy to have a little bit of a tough session or struggle coming to the studio, and then you think, okay, well, I'm lazy, I'm this, I can't do. When in actual fact, you've slept badly, haven't really had that much water that day, bit of stress at work, and then, I don't know, there's some car trouble. So you've got these four things all coming together, resulting in you not wanting to come to the studio, or resulting in you being at the studio, but just having a bit of a naff class. And it's actually not because you're bad, or your body's bad, or you're weak, or you're all these things. It's because of
and I think that I really learned that over the summer and this autumn. I had a really, really tough few months. My mum had to have a liver resection because she had a cancer discovered. She's well, she's having preventative treatment, but that was a horrible few months. Had so many difficulties in my personal life, and as a university lecturer, September and October are the worst months of the entire year because you've got all new students and nobody's enrolled properly, and it's just
and nobody knows what's
it's
going
very
on.
intense, and you're teaching, you know, several days a week. So sometimes you know that hoop's what you need to switch your head off. But also being self-aware enough to know when you don't want to go, is this because actually I need to physically rest? Or am I just wimping out because it just feels a bit too much? And again, that I've got better at that over my time doing hoop, much better at going, what is it that I need?
Exactly, and the more you know yourself, the more you can decide which way to go, rather than being like, don't know. You can actually take care of yourself better.
Absolutely.
Because you know what the next step is.
Because then there's not, I'm not going because I'm lazy. It's I'm not going because right now I need to just have a bath tonight and stay and rest. But equally, when you know that it would be good for you to go, then you know you can make yourself go and it'll be worth it.
Claire, I'm going to go there. We're going to talk about age. So...
I'm lazy.
So
I'm so not a lady.
Talking about those pop culture messages again.
Yes.
We're kind of being told that youth is best. Life stops after 24. I don't know. So I'm going to be 40 soon. I feel the best I've ever felt. Physically, absolutely fine. But more so mentally. It's a lot of stuff that bogs you down when you're younger, all of a sudden doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you started training hoop in your 40s.
In my 40s, yeah.
How was that for you in the first place? Did it matter at the time?
To me, not. My personality, as I said, is one that I'll get excited about stuff and I'll go, oh, that's cool, let's do it. My husband's always said, oh, Claire does cool things, which is why my Instagram handle is now Claire Does Cool Things. So for me, I have done enough work in my life, and the nature of the work that I do, I have a really strong sense of life is too short, live it. So for me, it didn't get in my way. I was anxious that I would be the oldest person in the space. I was anxious by how much I would be the oldest person in the space. That turned out to be completely a non-worry. Absolutely huge range of ages in your studio. So it wasn't an issue. I'm aware. The other thing that's interesting is I kind of think, oh, I'm never going to be able to do some of the stuff that the younger women can do. But then there is some stuff that I can do that they can't, which has nothing to do with age. And I realise there's so much that isn't that much to do with age. It's just to do with the length of your arms, or which joints in your body happen to be a bit bendier and stretchier than others. You know, it's just there's way more to it basically than just youth. And
it's about dedication
Yeah.
and how many hours you're putting in, isn't it? It's about reps.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the studio 2 or 3 times a week, nearly every week, apart from the times when I've had space for injury or what have you. And it's just about showing up. It's what do you want to achieve from it? I don't want to be a professional circus artist. I just enjoy getting stronger. It's so fun to just be in the air, even if you're just sitting in a hoop. You feel like a little girl again, sitting on a swing. It's fun being upside down. I love spinning. I know lots of people don't, but I do.
I love it too. Yeah. Do you also find that your spinning tolerance fine now?
Yeah.
Or do you find that you still sometimes get a bit...
I don't do it enough because I have to really persuade the teachers to please put a spin because they always go, oh well, no one else will want to. I'm like, they don't have to spin with a swivel on, but never mind. So I don't spin as much as I should to keep that tolerance up, but I have built it very quickly. I don't tend to get sort of travel sick or anything, so I don't.
You're not
some
that
people
sensitive with it. When you first started spinning, do you only go in the same direction, or do you spin both ways?
Every time someone says to me, which is your spitty leg, or which side do you normally do a wine glass? I don't know. I have to get in and see. Honestly, Anna, I don't know. I spin. I think I probably do spin both ways because sometimes it depends on how I'm planning to get into the hoop. So if I'm planning to get in from a Delilah, if you spin it away from the leg you'd normally get in, you're kind of chasing the hoop. So if you put a big spin on it, then sometimes my leg resists the hoop, in which case I'll spin it the opposite direction so that my leg and the hoop are coming together in one. So yeah, I think probably spin both ways, but not intentionally.
That's really good. No, but that's really good because I can only spin fast and do sequences one way.
Okay.
I can tolerate spinning the other way, but can't put anything together. And it doesn't matter how much I've tried. Spinning the other way doesn't work.
But then it does depend on the move, doesn't it? Because if it's a move where you're going to be moving with the direction of the hoop, that's what I've noticed a lot. And the other thing I find is that whatever shape I'm in, where I'm looking makes a huge difference to how I can tolerate it.
Where do you look when you spin?
At something that's in the same place I am, so my hand or a bit of the hoop. If I close my eyes, that's really stupid, don't do that. Or look at the room, then I start to feel... I'm fine while I'm in the hoop, is when I get out and I start feeling a little bit nauseous.
Yeah, okay. And what tips would you give somebody who's just starting to spin and they're really struggling?
I just do it a lot.
But again, it's about getting the reps in.
Yeah, it is. I mean, nausea is unpleasant, so have sips, have water, and salty snacks are really good for nausea. So have some crisps with you or something. And don't get back in until you're not nauseous, or get back in but don't spin until you're otherwise it just builds on itself.
Horrible. Ginger nut biscuits.
Yeah, but I don't like ginger.
Do you not?
No. I know.
So good.
I know, it was awful when I was pregnant. Everyone said, drink ginger tea. I'm like, I don't like it. It's horrible.
I wanted to ask you, since training aerial hoop, what are the biggest changes that you've noticed in yourself?
Confidence, really, how I see my body. So I would never have worn a bikini since I was in my very early 20s. In fact, teens, and then not, and then when I was pregnant, and then not. So when I was pregnant and I was allowed a big belly. But I prefer to wear a bikini because I get hot and I don't like, in the sunshine and stuff. But now I don't like wearing one-piece swimsuits. So that's been a massive change, that I will allow myself to be on the beach or doing my stupid cold plunges on Instagram in a bikini.
You're such a bro.
I know. That's probably the biggest change. Not that I can wear a bikini, but what that symbolises, that kind of sense of actually what I can do with my body and my brain is more important than what I look like. in the hoop, and then that changes how you think you look anyway. It just really shifts
your self-perception.
Yeah, I don't look at myself and go ugh anymore. I look at myself and go, oh, I'm cool.
But that's it, isn't it? That's
I say that quite often. I still go there, but much more often than not.
Yeah.
Now,
at least there's both are happening, aren't they?
Yeah.
Rather than just
and I know what I need to do to shift my mindset again. So I did that photo shoot with Kim. Oh my goodness! Straight after that, I felt different than it was a massive boost, and I was wearing a red bodysuit, and
looked good.
And I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I felt strong and confident. And I just think, like you say, those of us who have the confidence to do it, every time we put ourselves on social media, we're just tipping the needle slightly more towards showing women that normal bodies are fine.
And they can do
they're just
really
bodies.
Cool things. They don't need to wait to look a certain way until you are allowed to have fun or try this thing or challenge yourself or put a photo
or to be strong as well. Lots of people say to me, oh, I'd love to do that, but I'm not strong enough. And I'm like, that's how you get strong. You get strong by doing it.
But also what I really liked, what you just said, is confidence and also shifting how you see yourself and getting to a point where you're like, yeah, okay. Because again, I find we get bombarded with these messages that we have to love ourselves and we have to feel really confident in our bodies and be body positive, and that's great. And I know that it works for some people, but for a lot of people, that's being forced to go too much into a direction that for their entire lives they can't comprehend that concept. Whereas I think just getting to a point where we can be like neutral, or just accepting, we're like, okay, well, this is it. And now I can crack on with my life and have hobbies and have interests and wear a bikini and go out and do these things because I don't need to either hate myself or feel like I need to love myself. I can just be, and now my body can just go out and do body things.
It's that concept of good enough, I think. I think there's a lot of pressure to perfectionism and everything, and I've learned a lot about that's good enough. If I can get in the hoop and do a Delilah, fab. It's just a little bonus if I can also point my toes and not go like this.
But there's such a freedom in good enough, accepting, okay, rather than perfect, love,
absolutely,
awesome, more. If we can just be in like, that's okay, it releases so much pressure.
Definitely,
You said confidence. How does hoop build confidence, in your opinion?
I think that humans build confidence by achieving things, and particularly by achieving things that you didn't think you ever could do. And I always say to my students at the university and when I'm TAing, you can do hard things, you can try hard things, and it doesn't matter if you mess it up. It really doesn't matter. The world's not going to come to an end. You're just going to have tried a cool thing. And, the cheers that come up when somebody does something in the hoop that they went, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. Everyone's there with them and everyone's so proud of them.
And literally the whole room is clapping if you're doing the one thing.
Exactly. Even if it's literally just someone getting in. If they say, I don't think I can do this, then that sense of achievement, and that starts to build confidence and more confidence. And then what happens is that somebody starts who's newer than you and they ask you something and you say, well, your foot needs to be here, and then you go, oh, actually I've learned stuff.
And I can pass on knowledge.
Exactly. So I think that's probably the biggest way, unless you also, though, if you are somebody who's confident to post on social media, or if you're not confident, you do it anyway, I get more confidence from comments from other people as well. I thankfully have never gone viral, so I don't have like any nasties. But the comments I do get are so uplifting, you know, from the momentum community, but also other people in my life.
And it is true, I think, when we put stuff out there, what we get back is positive.
Yeah.
Like, of course, sometimes there's like the odd arsehole, but if you then also weigh it up, why focus on the one arsehole?
Yeah.
When there's 857 people who are rooting for you.
Absolutely.
And I think training something like polo hoop also helps you shift that mindset a little bit of actually focusing on the positive.
Yeah.
And
definitely, yeah.
Claire, it's been real. It's been an absolute pleasure, a wonderful conversation. Thank you for coming on again.
That's okay, it's a pleasure. I'm sad that I'll never get a chance again to the podcast.
But we've gone out with a bang.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, Claire, and thank you, listeners. We see you again next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.